Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. Tonight, the search is on for one last escapee from the Hardin jail, less than 24 hours after authorities tracked down and bring in his cohorts here in Billings.
Tonight, 25-year-old Andrew Parham remains on the loose as both 34-year-old Anthony Castro and 34-year-old Stephen Caplet sit behind bars in the Yellowstone County Jail.
4 days after the three men broke out of the Hardin jail, the Bighorn County Sheriff's Office releasing details on their frightening escape.
A successful ploy and 2 assaults on Friday night before the prisoners made it out. The press release states that just after 10 o'clock Friday, inmates lured a Bighorn County detention officer into one of the larger cell blocks by convincing him that someone was sick. Now, inmates then grabbed the officer and pulled him inside, where they assaulted and bound him. Authorities say the inmates then took a jail key from the officer and made their way to the Bighorn County dispatch area, where they assaulted a dispatcher and handcuffed her.
She tells Q2 she was then thrown to the floor and the inmates made their way out of the building through a garage door.
Well, the escapees all on the run until shortly after 10 o'clock last night, when Billings Police and U.S. Marshals first tracked down Anthony James Castro on the 800 block of South 29th Street. After a short foot chase, Castro was taken into custody.
Then about 2 hours later, the Billings Street Crimes Unit tried to stop a vehicle of interest, but the driver fled. Billings Police Lieutenant Brandon Wilde says officers shut down their pursuit due to safety, but later tracked down that vehicle again with Stephen Caplet inside.
A couple hours later, about 3 o'clock in the morning, an officer had noticed a similar vehicle of interest in the South Billings I-90 area and performed a traffic stop on that vehicle. And Caplet was a backseat passenger in that vehicle, and he was taken into custody without incident and remanded.
The 34-year-old Caplet made his initial appearance this afternoon in Justice Court by video from the Yellowstone County Jail.
Caplet now faces a number of charges, including unauthorized use of a motor vehicle and fleeing from or eluding an officer. He will be transferred back to Hardin within the next 24 to 48 hours.
Again, 2 of the 3 Bighorn County Jail escapees are in custody tonight.
Lieutenant Willie says they have no information on Andrew Parham's whereabouts, but will continue to follow leads.
Well, it appears that Bernie Sanders is the big winner of the New Hampshire Democratic primary. There were some other strong showings as well, but other candidates are calling it quits tonight. CBS's Skylar Henry has more from Manchester.
CBS News is projecting Bernie Sanders as the winner of the New Hampshire Democratic primary, making him the first non-president to snag back-to-back primaries in the Granite State.
And let me say tonight that this victory here is the beginning of the end for Donald Trump.
Former South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg had a strong finish in second place.
Thanks to you, a campaign that some said shouldn't be here at all has shown that we are here to stay.
And the surging senator from Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar, is in third. Some Klobuchar supporters said she won them over with her performance in last week's debate.
The people of New Hampshire, because of you, we are taking this campaign to Nevada.
Electability is a key point. Exit polls show more than 60% of voters say they prefer a nominee who can beat President Trump to those they agree with on major issues.
It was a disappointing night for Senator Elizabeth Warren and former Vice President Joe Biden, who both pledged to continue to fight. Biden left New Hampshire to attend a rally in South Carolina.
Look, we're going to be back. We're going to be back in New Hampshire. We're going to be back there to defeat Donald Trump in November.
The Democratic field will be a little smaller going forward. Andrew Yang and Colorado Senator Michael Bennet both suspended their long-shot campaigns. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Manchester, New Hampshire.
On the weather scene tonight, Q2 Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire here to show us that no matter how hard the snow falls, the crews in Red Lodge are faster.
It's amazing. We have a time-lapse video from the Pollard Hotel downtown on Broadway Street. And as you can see, here it is. They are trying to remove the 2 feet or more of snow that had fallen on the streets of downtown Red Lodge. Now, it took the combined effort of the city of Red Lodge, Carbon County, and the state of Montana, all with their plows and crews, all working together to kind of get this mountain of snow whittled down. And as you can see, they were doing a pretty doggone good job at it. It was called the Big Snow Party today because they were so busy clearing out all the snow. And I tell you what, they got it all the way down to the street level. Take a look at that. It started at 2 o'clock this morning and wound up at 2 o'clock this afternoon, and they got it all done. Wow. Our forecast is calling for more snow at Red Lodge. It's snowing there now. We'll show it to you in a few minutes when we do the weather.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. Well, as the race for Montana governor heats up, Republican candidate Tim Fox is rolling out his policy for one of the state's biggest economic drivers, agriculture. Q2's Mitch Laggy sat down with Fox and his running mate today to hear more.
Current Montana Attorney General Tim Fox and his running mate, former Montana legislator John Knoke, have their eyes set on the governor's office. At a campaign event in Billings Tuesday, Fox announced part 1 of 14 in his Montana United strategy plan for the future of the state. It was built with the input of 500 Montanans. The plan deals with topics like healthcare, senior citizens, and education. Part 1 deals with agriculture.
We announced our agricultural strategy because agriculture is the #1 industry in our economy here in this state and has been for some time.
This isn't a Tim Fox strategy or John Knoke strategy. This is a strategy from leaders within the community and people doing the work.
Fox's ag strategy deals with 20 talking points, among them protecting water rights, advocating for international trade, and property tax relief for farmers and ranchers. To move towards those goals, Fox said his unifying leadership would set the tone in the state legislature.
First and foremost, the people in the State House have to be advocates for what makes Montana great, and they have to be unifiers. Polarizing leaders are not effective in bringing people together to find the way forward.
Fox is facing off against Congressman Greg Gianforte and State Senator Al Olszewski. Knoke says Montana Republicans need to get behind somebody that will win in November.
And Tim's that guy. Last time he was on the ballot in 2016, he got more votes than any Republican in the history of Montana. Right? He won 54 or 56 counties. He won 53,000 more votes than Donald Trump in Trump country. And he got 96,000 more votes than Congressman Greg Gianforte when Congressman Greg Gianforte was running for governor.
Only time will tell if that many Montanans want Fox in the governor's office. In Billings, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
Thanks, Mitch. Now to view Fox's full agricultural strategy, find this story at KTVQ.com.
Well, the two candidates vying for the Democratic nomination for governor will hold their first debate right here in Billings tomorrow night. Lieutenant Governor Mike Cooney and businesswoman Whitney Williams will take part in a forum at MSU Billings, hosted by the Yellowstone County Democrats and the MSUB College Democrats. Sophomore Mitch Bond came up with the idea and organized that event.
Is it tough to get people your age excited about politics?
It is. We do have a hard time getting people involved. I'm hoping that having something like this on campus will engage more kids, because seeing the candidates firsthand is, I feel, what got me involved.
Well, MSUB's Petro Theater is the site for the event. I'm looking forward to being one of the panelists. That 90-minute forum begins at 6 p.m. It is free and open to the public.
In Montana's U.S. Senate race, the potential Democratic challengers to incumbent Republican Steve Daines are largely unknown to voters. But tonight, MTN's Mike Dennison brings us a look at the bucks behind their personal bank accounts.
Public health expert Cora Newman grew up in Bozeman and moved back there with her family last year. She had been living in Topanga, California, north of Los Angeles, and just sold her house there last month for between $1 and $5 million, according to her report. Newman most recently has worked as an executive for nonprofit organizations based in California, Seattle, and Washington, D.C., for which she was paid about $450,000 within the last year. Her report also lists investments and retirement funds valued between $188,000 and $570,000, and outstanding student loans between $50,000 and $100,000. Financial disclosure forms don't require the candidates to list the precise value of their holdings, but rather a range of value. Another Democrat in the race, John Muse, a U.S. Navy veteran and engineer from Loma, owns small ranch properties in Loma and Garrison, Montana, a condominium in Hawaii, and a home south of Seattle. The total value of his properties is listed between $1.5 and $3 million. He was paid $263,000 last year by Equinor, an international energy firm, and has some investment holdings and bank accounts worth between $100,000 and $340,000. Muse, who grew up in Deer Lodge, Helena, and Wolf Point, also lists mortgage debt and student loan debt totaling between $400,000 and $850,000. Helena Mayor Wilmot Collins is the child protective specialist for the state of Montana, earning about $48,000 a year. He lives in a condominium in Helena and owns a home in the county that he rents out. He lists some investment funds worth less than $20,000 and family student loan debts between $250,000 and $500,000. And then there's Senator Daines, a former executive for the software development firm Right Now Technologies in Bozeman. He made several $million when the company was sold to Oracle Corporation in 2012 for $1.8 billion. He also invested in Genesis Business Park, where Right Now was headquartered, and owns commercial property there valued between $5 million and $23 million. Those properties paid him rental income in 2018 between $500,000 and $4 million. He also lists a variety of investment and retirement funds worth between $1 million and $2.6 million. So now I know a bit more about who the candidates are and their financial background. When the field is complete in a few weeks, we'll be telling you more about what they stand for and what they want to do for Montana and the country. In Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Democratic candidate Michael Knowles has not yet filed the financial disclosure statement.
Up next on your 10 o'clock news, if you're dreaming of the sun and sand, there'll soon be a direct route from Billings.
And tonight in sports, less than 2 weeks ago, Montana cowboy Jesse Davis almost died at a rodeo. Tonight, Scott shows us his progress.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.